Hi, my name's Jonathan Yeo. I'm a painter specialising in portraits, and this is my studio in London. That barber chair to your right is where my subjects usually sit. And actually, I've had a few interesting sitters over the years, some of whom you may notice if you look around the room. To your left on the easel, there's a portrait of Helena Bonham Carter. In front of you, there's a portrait of Cara Delevingne, and in the far right-hand upper corner, there's a portrait of Idris Elba. To your right, you can look down and see my easel and palette. I sit often on that tall chair. My method of work is in some ways very traditional. I basically use oil paints on canvas. And like many other painters, I'm interested in self-portraits and their history. That's one of mine sitting on the easel to your right. Artists have actually only really been able to make self-portraits initially using a mirror, and later with the advent of photography, they were able to make portraits or sculptures based on those photographs. But even then, the images were only two-dimensional. Over the last year and a half, I've been collaborating with Google Arts and Culture, experimenting with virtual reality and in particular Google Tilt Brush. And I love it because it allows you to make marks in space. I thought it'd be interesting to do a self-portrait in Tilt Brush, but I can't look at a mirror with a great big mask on my head. So using cutting-edge facial scanning technology, I was able to create a 3D scan of my own head. You could say, much like Rembrandt used a mirror or Holbein used a camera obscura, I'm simply using the latest technology available to help me create a new kind of image. After importing the 3D scan into the Tilt Brush program, I started making a three-dimensional self-portrait. Tilt Brush allows you to make brushstrokes that freeze in space. For the first time, I was effectively making sculpture, something I've never done before, using techniques of mark making which had more in common with the expressive brushstrokes that I make when painting energetically and fast-flowing movements on canvas. What really appealed to me was the accuracy you would get from each individual stroke. It's not a vague approximation, it's exactly the gesture I was making in the air with my hand. It's a direct expression of me and a perfect tool for a self-portrait. This exciting fusion of two- and three-dimensional approaches in art, I quickly realized would be even more exciting if there was a way of translating these structures into the physical world. I therefore went to the Google engineers and asked them if we could find a way of transforming these virtual creations into a physical work of art. So by working closely with Google engineers to 3D print directly from the software for the first time, we were able to print it in separate parts and carefully, precisely join them together. With the help of some expert forgers, we managed to create a mold. And that meant we could cast it in bronze, one of the most traditional sculpting techniques of all. If you look closely at the sculpture now, you can see that those marks which were made in the virtual reality with flowing movements have been frozen in permanent and indestructible bronze. It occurred to me that by using bronze, one of the most ancient art materials of all, it would both underline this extraordinary blend of ancient and modern techniques, the fusion of painting and sculpture, and make the point visually that this incredibly new and futuristic medium of virtual reality could actually be used to make solid objects on any scale and as permanent as bronze sculptures which have lasted more than 6,000 years.